You're trying to return to adolescence. She's trying to leave it behind. You cause even more confusion. Just yesterday afternoon, she was lying in your arms, contented as a puppy with a full tummy. Today, after a fender bender, her whole universe is falling apart. She's confused by the flood of emotions you cause in her. During 1 week, she feels elated, guilty, foolish, sexual, womanly, appreciated, accepted, curious, ignorant, naive, inept, silly, whorish, glamorous, sad, sensual, romantic, grown up, lustful, horny, sated, terrified, brave, embarrassed, proud, shy, exhibitionist, childlike, daughter-like, and 100 others you and I can't possibly empathize with. Carl and I were lying in bed after superb orgasmic sex that lasted a half an hour. As the glow gradually faded, she said in a tiny, painful voice, "A year ago, I was a virgin. Things are not like they told me." You got that right, girl. She thinks she must be in love. Otherwise, she wouldn't be having such grand sex with you. At the same time, she thinks often out loud, "What am I doing?" She's breaking all the rules and gets a charge out of doing just that. But on her way home, she feels like a cheap slut for sucking a 45-year-old cock. She's volatile, impulsive, and irrational. Her confusion drives you crazy. She picks a fight so she can break up with you. She cancels a date and makes sure you know on some level she's going out with a boy. She's young, confused, ignorant, and scared. If your affair has been going on 3 months or more, add bored. Sounds pretty negative, right? Well, my friend, I chose to tell you the bad news first. Why? Because if you think everything's going to be easy, or you're not interested in taking the bad with the wonderful, you can put the book down. Call up that 38-year-old with 3 kids, stretch marks, and saggy tits. Or you can get back to important activities like watching TV and hanging out with friends in a bar. If you're serious about young women, keep reading and absorb the negatives. Digest them, mull them over. They are a key to understanding her, something you must do before you could ever hope to talk with her, let alone date her. In a few chapters, you'll get the good news. There's lots of good news, too. The 20-year-old's agenda. She's primarily interested in getting a husband to be on the hook. Much more later in the chapter, boyfriends. It takes her a year of going steady to feel she's got him under control. Once this is accomplished, she wants to see what's been missing. She goes dancing or to parties with the girls, where she practices interacting with new boys and young men. After a few months, she's ready. Her experimentation begins with another boy, her naive version of an affair. Jimmy or Jimmy. She enjoys the excitement of getting away with something. She realizes he's just a boy like Jimmy. She wants to try on a man, so she finds one. Randy Red Porsche, 28-year-old singles bar hustler. He bangs her Thursday nights when she's out with the girls and on Monday night when Jimmy's out with the boys. When Jimmy finds out, he breaks up with her. But soon, Red Porsche gets bored and trashes her. She begs Jimmy to take her back. He does. Each claims to have discovered how much he really loves the other after only 4 weeks apart. They prove it by exchanging wedding vows. In reality, they're both terrified of the single world, so they flee to the safety of marriage and a dependable partner. If Jimmy won't take her back, she tries a brief but uninspired crack at single life. After getting screwed, literally and figuratively, by one user after another, 2 things are possible. Either she becomes as plastic as the rest, or starts hanging out in pickup bars. Or if you're lucky, she drops out of the swinging singles world and dates several young men she knew from high school or college, as she searches for another husband to be. If you meet her after the breakup, you have a much better chance with her after she's had at least 1 fling. 2 is even better. If she's abandoned the bar scene, your chances improve 10 times. If she and her boyfriend are working on their relationship, your chances are 1,000 times better. Working on means she's keeping her freedom to date, and so is he. They only go out with each other when lonely, bored, and horny. Let's assume she was living with a boyfriend for a year. At first, she enjoys playing house and acting like a grown-up, at least what she fantasizes adults behave like. As time goes by, it becomes apparent this is not as much fun as it should be. She does not discuss it with him. She only complains to her girlfriends or her mother. The younger she is, the more she feels she's missing out on what her contemporaries are experiencing, missing out by living with Jimmy. If she hasn't given up on her mini marriage, she tries to go out with the girls. He feels insecure and reacts according to his personality, machoing out, insisting she stay home, or wimping out, acting like his whole world is ending. No matter which way he reacts, she's so angry she feels free to cheat on him and does with the first male of any age who treats her nice. Not nice like in the bad sense, but treats her with a little bit of respect and like a woman. Her motive is to hurt him, to get him to change, meaning she has to get caught. Are you listening? If Jimmy's too trusting or too dumb to figure it out, she'll confess in order to create the scene or scenes necessary for Jimmy to change. You are paying attention, aren't you? Sometimes Jimmy's 6'5" and a linebacker for UCLA. Read all about it. The couple struggles along until they get married, or one of them meets somebody new and leaves. If a primary motive for moving in with him was to escape neurotic parents, she will leave and move in with a couple of girlfriends as soon as it's possible. She'll continue looking for a new husband-to-be in that environment. These events are typical for those who don't marry 2 years out of high school. She has this experience between 17 and 23, depending on her maturity. But for most, it happens when she's 20, plus or minus a year. What she knows about sex. This is the typical 20-year-old. What does a typical 20-year-old know about sex? Mommy and Daddy pounded it into her young head. Boys are only interested in one thing. By the age of 20, she believes it. Every male has tried to pack her pipe within hours or on the second date. The exception is her boyfriend, Jimmy. He was honorable for a month. Her actual experience is mostly mediocre intercourse with possibly one not great lover. Most young women engage in sexual relations only with fiancés and steady boyfriends. However, when she doesn't have a boyfriend, the likable, young enough to marry guy, 22 to 29, dates her easily and gets in her pants quickly. He has a wide choice of young women and she knows it. Experience has taught her to get it on or he won't be back. Then there will be no chance to hook a potential husband. After 10 or more of these encounters that take place between boyfriends, she finally realizes young men are using her intense desire to become queen for a day to get her on her back. At that point, she begins playing the dating game, much rougher with all males, including you. She's 23 or 24 by that time. Young men who precede you think eating pussy is something one does to get head in return. They're not concerned with her pleasure or enjoyment except for Randy Redbush's younger brother, Danny Manley. He wants her to believe he's super stud, so she'll rave about him to her friends. He hopes word gets back to his buddies so they'll think he's a real man. Other boys and young men, including her boyfriend, don't encourage her to take an active part in sexual activities except when they want a blowjob. She's only a notch on their guns, but each and every time she hoped she would be loved. In my experience, only a few young women have ever achieved orgasm as the result of a young partner's actions. And with some of them, it was only an accident, an unrepeatable accident. In parentheses, don't concern yourself with this the first few times, as explained in the chapter Sex with Her, close parentheses. Most just give in to intercourse, and although it's pleasurable, it's not like in the movies or the trashy novels she reads. She believes sex is okay, it feels good, but it's not all that great. She can't understand what the excitement's about. After lying to her and manipulating for weeks, he comes in 30 seconds. She and her contemporaries just don't have any great experience or trying to repeat. Young women rarely need sex like their older counterparts who've discovered by age 28 that priests and the other 4 Ps, parents, preachers, and professors, are full of shit about sex being wrong and bad. Very seldom will you meet a young woman who loves sex. Those who do began early. They're rebellious and independent and have learned to take charge of their own orgasms. Carla could do that. If she's had an older boyfriend who can sustain intercourse, she finds sex wonderful, fun, and nourishing, like you do. Or I do. I don't know about you, but that to me is the greatest thing in the world. Her first man. She heard about dirty old men as she was growing up. The tone of voice and disapproving faces made her fear older men. When she was 14, Mr. Pius, the Sunday school teacher, Mr. Boner, the history teacher, and Dr. Feelit, her pediatrician, or even her own Uncle Dick tried to fuck her. She didn't expect it. She trusted. She thought it would be some stranger hiding in a dark alley. All that's in the back of her pretty head. Don't look or talk like the man Mummy warned her about. That's a big deal. What do dirty old men look like and act like? Ask yourself that and then don't do that. Experience can help, but most limit themselves to young males, marryable. That's why they're disappointed, unfulfilled, and interested in you. An experienced 21-year-old girl's idea of variety means a tall boy, a muscled boy, a black boy, a chubby boy, and for radical thrill, Randy Redpush's roomie, the 29-year-old Sammy Silverbeamer. A real stud, guys.